My name is Megan Devereaux. I'm 34, the youngest daughter of a Southern family that's old enough to have its own page in Savannah's historical archives. We were raised on silver cutlery and whispered traditions. My sister Blythe soaked it in like gospel, while I spent most of my childhood watching from the hallway, always one room removed from belonging. They called me sensitive, withdrawn, even fragile. I called it survival. I was the shadow they tolerated, the afterthought they dressed in hand-me-down apologies. But what none of them knew, what not even I fully grasped back then, was that the ground beneath our family's pride, our legacy, our blood-soaked celebrations would one day belong to me. And when they called me a beggar, they didn't realize they were standing on my land. The message came just after midnight, confirming owner attendance for weekend event. RSVP by 10 a.m. Regards, Belrose Estate Management. I stared at it, blinking. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Then I saw the address. My property. My land. My name on the deed. But no one told me. Not a call. Not a text. Not a scrap of acknowledgement. Just silence, while they planned a full-scale celebration. On soil I legally owned. You know what they say, I muttered to myself. Blood makes you related. Loyalty makes you family. I opened the digital vault. Scanned through my ownership documents. Title: Historic Trust Agreement. GIS coordinates. Transfer confirmation. Every legal box checked. All filed under Megan A. Devereaux. I cross-checked with Belrose Estates event page. The reservation ID linked to a foundation name I'd never heard of, Lormar Charities. My hands stilled. Lormar. Lorraine and Blythe. A foundation that didn't legally exist 6 months ago.
Cut to.
I drove through the winding oak-lined roads of Savannah, headlights slicing through fog. The Belrose estate stood lit like a fairy tale from the 1800s, columns glowing, lanterns swaying, the scent of magnolia clinging to the air. A valet in white gloves opened the front gate. Didn't ask for my name. Just nodded. They didn't know who I was. Better. I parked behind a catering van, slipped out in flats and a gray windbreaker. Nothing that screamed heiress. Just another staffer walking in early.
Cut through the side garden.
There it was, my land, crawling with their decorations. I pulled out my phone. Opened the encrypted owner's app tied to the estate's smart system. Facial recognition scanned. Welcome, Megan Devereaux. Property status: active lease. Owner verification confirmed. I stood perfectly still as the screen glowed green. Above me, strings of gold lights blinked. Below my feet, legal ground.
Mine.
I walked past floral arches, each petal dripping wealth. Tables with monogrammed cloths. Champagne pyramids already half-stacked. Servers prepping as if this were royal territory. And I wasn't just uninvited. I was erased.
Cut to.
I leaned on a column near the staff entry. The air vibrated with jazz rehearsal inside. I watched Blythe glide across the ballroom in a silk rehearsal dress, arms linked with Lorraine. Both laughing like there had never been another daughter. People like them don't steal with knives. They steal with pen ink. Sudden vibration.
Phone.
Unknown caller. Blocked number. I answered. Silence. Then a breath.
Low.
Familiar. Don't ruin this, Megan. Stay where you are.
Click.
My spine locked. Not fear. Recognition. Lorraine's voice. Not a request. A threat. I checked my email again. Scan Belrose's access logs. 1 week ago, admin override of my access. Signed by Caleb R. Hensley, former family lawyer. I let out a laugh.
Short. Sharp.
You forge my name, I whispered. You lease my land. You plan your legacy party on top of my signature.
Pause.
And you forgot the one thing that matters in Savannah. I stepped back into the shadows. Deeds don't lie, but families do. They can celebrate all they want until I pull the ground from under their feet. The champagne glass slipped from my hand before it even touched my lips. The crystal didn't shatter. It just fell into the grass like a silent apology. My heels dug into the ground as I watched my sister glide across the ballroom floor, arms linked with mother, laughter spilling from them like they'd won something. Like they hadn't just robbed me blind.
They didn't see me yet. Good.
The crowd moved like a living thing, designer gowns, inherited pearls, old money sweatless under soft white lights. The string quartet played something expensive and forgettable. Their world smelled like rosewater and vintage scotch. My world smelled like betrayal. I moved closer. "Is that Megan?" a voice murmured behind me. I didn't turn. Yes. Megan Devereaux. The one they never expected to show up. The one who was supposed to stay erased. A server brushed past me. On his tray, miniature cakes with edible gold leaf. I plucked one. Bit it. Let the sugar rot against my tongue. Everything looked perfect. Until you checked the deed. I stepped into the light. Eyes turned. And then his voice cut through the music like a blade. "Who let this beggar in?" Silence. My father, Harold Devereaux, wearing a tailored suit 2 sizes too proud for his shoulders. Standing beside his friends, his board, his legacy. Everyone froze. Even Blythe. For a moment. Then the laughter returned.
Directed at me.
No one stopped him. No one ever did. A security guard approached, hesitated. "She's not on the guest list," someone whispered. "I need her removed," Harold said louder. "Before she embarrasses herself. Again." I smiled. Rule 1 of power. Don't bring knives to a contract fight. I reached into my clutch. Pulled out the printed title deed. Folded twice. Highlighted clause 12.1. "Before you do anything stupid," I said calmly, "you may want to read this." I handed it to the security guard. His eyes widened. He looked at me, then back at Harold. "This says she's the property owner," he mumbled. Murmurs. Stiff necks turned. Blythe's smile vanished like vapor. Lorraine stepped forward, face tight. "There's been a misunderstanding." "Yeah," I said. "Your handwriting's not as pretty as you think." I turned to her. What kind of mother teaches her daughter to forge her own sister's signature? No answer. Instead, Caleb appeared. Suit neat. Tie blood red. "Megan," he said, hands raised. "Let's not make this a scene." "You made it a crime," I shot back. I stepped closer.
His cologne was the same.
His voice was not. "You knew the foundation was fake," I said. He flinched. "You oversaw the lease transfer without owner consent. You accessed files you had no legal right to touch." "Don't do this here," he whispered.
Why?
"Is the air too clean for truth?" Caleb stepped aside. Fast. Nervous. Not guilty, scared. Interesting.
Cut to.
I left. Calmly. No screams. No violence. Just the sting of silence parting as I passed. I reached my car. Locked the doors. Pulled up the estate surveillance app. My tech team had hardwired every room. For safety, originally.
Now? For clarity.
I tapped ballroom cam 3. Sound crackled. Caleb's voice. "You're sure she won't be a problem?" Lorraine. "She doesn't exist anymore, Caleb.
Not in this family.
Not in this plan." I paused the footage. Played it again. Not in this family. My hand clenched around the steering wheel. She'd said it like a benediction. Like a sentence. I skipped forward. New angle. Office feed. Caleb sitting alone. A phone to his ear. That her name's still on everything. "If this blows back, I'm out. You promised I wouldn't get dragged." Silence. Then his next line chilled me. "I already buried the override. Nobody will find it. Not unless they know to look under 92C.
Cut to.
I drove home like the road owed me revenge. The lights flickered as I stepped into my apartment. Paranoia scratched under my skin. I unplugged the router. Opened my safe. Pulled out the unedited digital file of the estate's transfer contract. I scrolled to clause 92C. There it was. A hidden override directive, timestamped. Post-signature. Digitally inserted.
Forgery.
Felony. A knock at the door. I froze. Another knock. Louder. Not frantic. Intentional. I stepped quietly to the peephole.
Caleb.
Alone. He didn't look angry. He looked hunted. Megan, he said softly, without turning his head toward the camera. You were never supposed to see that clause. He looked down the hallway. Back at me. They'll come after me now. But you. A pause. You better lock that vault, Megan. Because they're already rewriting your name. They didn't just try to erase me. They forged the wrong daughter's name. Rain hit the windshield in quick, angry spits. I hadn't blinked in 5 intersections. A black SUV had been behind me for the last 7 blocks. It stayed 2 car lengths behind. Never passed. Never slowed. No plates on the front. I took a hard right without signaling. The SUV did too. Coincidence ends at 3 times. This was number 5. I punched the brakes. Swerved into a gas station. Parked under a floodlight and killed the engine. The SUV rolled past.
Slow.
Tires hissed on wet asphalt. Tinted windows. No face. Just shadows. It didn't stop. I waited another full minute before stepping out. My fingers trembled as I entered the store. 2 shots of espresso, I said. The barista didn't flinch. Small towns like Savannah don't rattle easy. I pulled my phone from my coat. Logged into the secure vault again. Still intact. But something felt wrong.
Off.
The espresso burned my throat. I checked the front camera on my apartment. No movement. Back camera.
Paused.
A shape by the stairwell. Static.
Too still to be wind. I zoomed in.
Gray hoodie. Black gloves. No face. Just a man standing at my door for 4 minutes. Then gone.
Cut to.
I was home within 10. Keys ready in one hand. Taser in the other. I opened the door slowly. The smell hit first. Lavender. My mother's signature scent. But too strong. Too artificial. Masking something. The hallway light was on. I never leave it on. I moved in silence.
Kitchen. Clear.
Living room.
Clear.
Bedroom. I stopped cold. The bed was untouched. But the closet door was ajar. I hadn't opened it. I flicked the hallway light off. Stood in the dark. Silence stretched thin. I waited. Then opened the closet fast. Slammed it back. Empty. But a note fluttered down from a coat hanger. Plain paper. Typewritten. You don't belong in this bloodline. No signature. Just a greasy fingerprint in the corner. My pulse skidded.
Cut to.
I called Naomi. She answered on the second ring.
You were right, I said.
They're trying to erase more than my name. She was quiet. Then, meet me at City Archives.
Now. Cut scene.
Rain was heavier now, punching the roof of the building like fists. Naomi wore a black coat and a look that belonged in a war zone. She didn't say hello. Just handed me a printed satellite map. Here's Belrose. I leaned over it. This is your estate, she continued. But this, she pointed to a red square. This section is under federal preservation. They can't sell it. They can't build on it. They can't even mow the lawn without your signature. So, what the hell are they doing? I asked. She tapped a folder beside the map. Inside, blueprints. For a development. Retail space. Condos. Gated driveways. Set to break ground in 72 hours. But they need one final sign-off, Naomi said. From the legal heir. You. And if I'm dead? I asked. She looked at me. Didn't smile. That's the loophole. If you die before filing an injunction, the estate can be reassigned through secondary proxy, if there's family consensus. A long beat. They're not just selling it behind my back, I whispered. They're betting I won't be alive to stop them.
Cut to.
I drove to Belrose. Parked under the old oaks. Slipped through the staff corridor. Inside, the ballroom echoed with slow jazz and clinking silver. I saw Blythe in the side parlor, in a white cocktail dress, sipping from a glass like she was owed the whole world. Next to her, 3 men.
Suits.
Polished shoes. Corporate smiles. I moved closer. Words drifted through the air. Contracts ready. We just need all signatures by Friday. The transfer will be processed through the trust. Blythe asked, and once the original deed is off record? Then your family can finally move on, one man replied.
Cut.
I stepped through the door. All heads turned. Selling land that doesn't legally belong to you? I said calmly. Cute. Blythe stood. You shouldn't be here. Neither should a fraudulent development plan on federally protected land. The suits stepped back. One checked his phone. Blythe's face twisted. What do you want?
Truth.
And if I say no? I smiled. There's a reason I never burned the paper trail. They didn't just build their legacy on my land. They built it on a ticking time bomb. The courthouse denied the injunction in less than 4 minutes. Clerk didn't even look at me. Just stamped the corner, slid it back. Can't block a sale if you already approved it, he said. I didn't approve shit, I snapped. He raised an eyebrow. Well, someone with your name did. 2 weeks ago. Notarized. My mouth went dry. I grabbed the document, scanned it. There it was, my name. Megan A. Devereaux. Slanted. Impeccable. Too impeccable. Forgery never sweats. Clause 12.4. Ownership transfer upon mutual family consent with primary heirs signed waiver.
I didn't sign that.
Not in court. Not in blood. But now it was filed. Processed. Registered. Legal. Unless I could prove otherwise fast. I bolted out the building.
Cut to.
I drove to Caleb's office. Rain thrashed the windshield. Thunder rolled in like it had an axe to grind. His office lights were on. Door unlocked. Inside, papers were everywhere. A filing cabinet had been tipped over. Caleb. I called. Silence.
Then,
a crash. Back hallway. I ran. Found him halfway down the stairs, body twisted at the base, one leg bent wrong. Blood smeared on the floorboards. He was still breathing. I dropped to my knees. What happened? His eyes flicked toward the hallway. His lips moved. They came early.
who?
He blinked slow. Lorraine. She wasn't bluffing. The policy. He coughed hard. It's not for value. It's for your death. I froze. What? She took out insurance, he whispered. Life and asset tied. You die, the land clears. She gets it all. His hand trembled, reaching for his coat. A small flash drive. He pushed it into my palm. Run it. Then his eyes rolled back. Dead weight. Cut scene. Sirens wailed in the distance. I backed out, fast. Took side streets. Avoided main lights. Drove straight to Naomi's place. She opened the door without a word. Led me to her home office. I handed her the drive. She plugged it in. The screen lit up. 3 folders. Policy _ packet. Override _ directive. Recorded _ call. We opened the call file first. Lorraine's voice. Once she's out of the picture, we'll finalize. The policy kicks in. Death within 60 days of signature triggers the payout. No autopsy required if ruled accidental. A male voice. You think she suspects?
No.
She's always been too emotional to be dangerous. Naomi looked at me. I didn't blink. People mistake silence for weakness. That's always their first mistake. Run the rest, I said.
Cut to.
The override file had 1 line of code. Auto transfer directive. Trigger upon heir's death. Encrypted. Tied to the estate's trust. Legal if unchallenged. I stared at the screen. This wasn't just a fraud. It was a planned elimination. Murder, dressed in paperwork and polite southern smiles. They used me like ink, I muttered, and planned to wash me out with blood. Naomi turned. There's 1 clause left, she said. The land's under a federal heritage overlay. If the primary heir is proven alive and contests the override, the trust freezes for investigation. I stood. What do I need? Hard proof. And exposure. Public. Cut scene. Midnight. Belrose Estate. The main hall lit like a cathedral. I snuck in through the back conservatory. Inside, guests were sipping brandy. The family laughed like nothing was bleeding beneath their feet. I stepped into the private library, rifled through Lorraine's desk, found a locked drawer. I picked it. Inside, contract copies, including one with my signature. The pen used sat beside it. Same ink as the waiver. Took photos. Bagged the pen. As I turned, the door creaked. I froze. A shape at the edge of the hallway. Then gone. I walked fast. No sound. No shadow. But I could feel it. The air had shifted. Not fear. Not guilt. Anticipation. Back in the car, I locked the doors. Opened the flash drive again. Scrolled down. One file unmarked. Clicked it. A scanned insurance document. Lorraine listed as beneficiary. Policy value, $8.5 million. Terms, payout upon accidental death of Megan Devereaux. They're not just stealing my legacy. They're writing my death into the contract. Naomi slammed the heritage file on the table. Her hands shook. That never happened. There's one clause they didn't expect you to find. I scanned the yellowed paper, my name handwritten in a line that hadn't been touched since 1994. Clause 17.3. In the event the direct heir is alive and in legal opposition, all property transfers are subject to federal freeze until investigation is complete. I looked up. So, if I file this now, the sale halts? If you file it publicly, Naomi said. They can't bury it. The clause triggers a mandatory review. And if I vanish before that? She didn't answer. She didn't have to. Cutscene. I drove to the notary office downtown. Filed the motion. Public. Time-stamped. Legal. As I stepped out, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Voicemail. Your move just cost someone everything. And I don't mean you. My breath hitched. I called Naomi. Straight to voicemail. Again. Again. No answer. I gunned the engine. Cut through traffic. Arrived at her house in 10. Lights off. Porch dark. I climbed the side gate. Reached the back entrance. Kitchen door, open. Inside, drawers pulled. Cabinets gutted. Laptop gone. On the floor, a single black envelope. My name in red ink. I opened it. A flash drive. Labeled 47B. Trust override. Witness copy. I didn't trust it, but I ran it anyway. Back in the car. Windows up. Locks down. Inside, video footage. Security cam. Blythe. Standing over Caleb in his office, days before the fall. Her voice. I said you'd do it. I wasn't asking. He tried to push past her. She blocked him. Smiled. I've held your daughter's trust account for 7 years. Think I won't collapse it in 30 seconds? He went still. Then sat down. And signed. My stomach dropped. I'd always thought Lorraine was the mastermind. That she pulled the strings, polished the knife. But Blythe, she was the architect. The cold. The control. The face of innocence they used to distract while she rewrote the map. Cut to. I met Blythe at the Belmore Cafe. Neutral ground. She walked in wearing pearls and black, like she was grieving someone already dead. I didn't flinch. You threatened Caleb's kid, I said. She tilted her head. You can't prove that. You recorded it. A blink. No denial. You should have stayed gone, Megan. And you should have learned to forge better. She leaned in. Everyone thinks you're the sweet one, the quiet one, but you've always had this rage. I didn't move. I'm not angry, I said. I'm just very, very awake. Cut scene. That night, I called the City Preservation Office. Trigger Clause 17.3, I said. And get federal oversight on standby. Then I sent the footage to the local paper. And the DA's office. One file labeled, Inheritance Rewritten by Blood. Final move. No more whispers. No more shadows. Just facts. Truth doesn't need a microphone. It just needs daylight. Cut to. An hour later, my doorbell rang. I checked the cam. A courier. Gloves. Helmet. Package in hand. I buzzed him in. He placed the box on the front step and walked away without a word. I opened it. Inside, a single document. Power of attorney. Effective immediately.
Signed.
Dated. Lorraine's name. My name scratched out. In its place, Blythe. Stamped in blue ink. Filed just hours ago. But the line at the bottom chilled my blood. Executed by necessity, per Clause 48b, heir incapacitated, presumed unable to govern estate interest. Presumed. Not proven. Not declared. Presumed. They weren't trying to kill me anymore. They were trying to prove I didn't exist legally. They planned my funeral. I'll attend, with a subpoena. The ballroom was a cathedral of lies. Crystal chandeliers flickered. Servers floated between tables like ghosts. The scent of white orchids masked the stench of legacy rot. And at the head of it all stood Blythe,
Smiling.
holding a champagne flute in one hand and a pen in the other. I watched from the balcony above.
Naomi beside me, silent, steel-eyed.
Below, the board of Belrose Development circled the contract like vultures. The transfer was minutes away. I stepped forward. A microphone clicked on. My name, I said, is Megan Devereaux. The music died. Dozens of heads turned. Some recognized me. Most didn't. That was the point. I'm the legal heir of Belrose Estate. And this, I held up the signed POA, the false waiver, the override clause, is fraud.
Gasps.
Flashes of cameras. Cell phones rose like daggers. Naomi spoke next. As of 23 minutes ago, Clause 17.3 of the Historic Trust has been triggered. All contracts are frozen under federal investigation. Silence cracked, then shattered. Blythe's glass slipped from her hand. Lorraine stood. She's lying. She's recorded, I said. And under review by the district attorney.
Cops walked in.
Plain clothes. Badges glinting beneath tuxedo lapels. 2 approached Blythe. 1 held cuffs. Don't touch me, she hissed. I walked toward her, calm. You said I was fragile, I whispered. You were wrong. I was patient. She lunged. A slap. Nails. A scream. The officers pinned her. She thrashed. Cursed.
Sobbed.
The chandelier shook. Then stillness. I turned to the guests. This house was built on secrets. Tonight, it crumbles under truth.
Cut to.
The estate was locked down. Federal seal on every door. Lorraine's assets were frozen. Blythe was arraigned within 48 hours. Caleb's family was granted witness protection. His daughter would grow up safe. Naomi got the historical oversight grant she'd chased for years. And me? I stayed. Not for revenge. For restoration. Cut scene. 3 months later, I walked the gardens of Belrose. Alone. Wind pulled at the linen curtains from the veranda. The vines had grown wild again. The way they should have. Some things aren't meant to be manicured. I sat by the old fountain, flipping through documents. One caught my eye. A clause I'd missed. Small print. A note from the estate founder, my great-grandmother. Let the land return to the child who is not heard, for she listens better than the rest. I smiled. Legacy isn't inherited. It's earned. Protected. Bled for. People think power means winning. But real power is surviving what was meant to destroy you and refusing to become it.
Cut to.
A knock at the gate. A woman with a clipboard.
Young.
Nervous. I'm here for the internship, she said. The new preservation program? I nodded. Welcome to Belrose. She stepped in, eyes wide. Is it true, she asked, that the land used to belong to someone else? I looked out over the lawn, golden in the morning light. They called me a beggar, I said softly, but they never realized they were standing on my ground.